The Great Hall was huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ceiling went up so high that clouds could form inside it. 847 different alien races sat in their special seats. Each seat was made just right for their body type. Hyunwoo Kim sat alone in the human section. His chair was simple compared to the others. The Altarians had seats made of crystal that glowed blue. The Vegans had a big round bubble where their hive mind could float together. The Andromedans had seats that changed shape every few minutes. Hyunwoo looked calm, but his heart was beating fast. Today was the day they would vote. The question was simple. Should humans stay in the Galactic Council, or should they be kicked out forever? The speaker stood up. Zephyrian Prime was tall and thin, with forearms and skin that looked like metal. His voice was deep and echoed through the hall. "We are here today to vote on Resolution 2387, Zephyrian Prime said. "The question is whether humanity should be expelled from our galactic civilization." Murmurs filled the hall. Some aliens clicked their claws. Others made whistling sounds. The crystallites rang like bells when they were excited. "The first to speak will be Chancellor Vextar from Altair Prime," the speaker announced. A being made of living crystal floated to the speaking platform. When it talked, its whole body flashed with different colors. "Humans are too violent, Chancellor," Vextar said, the crystal being pulsed red with anger. "They fight wars on their own planet. They build weapons that can destroy cities. They are not ready to be part of our peaceful galaxy." Many aliens nodded. The Peaceful Alliance members all glowed green to show they agreed. Next came the representative from the Vegan Collective. It looked like a floating brain covered in tentacles. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere at once because it was actually thousands of minds talking together. "Humans think too much about themselves," the Vegan said. "They make decisions alone instead of thinking about everyone. This is dangerous. Individual thinking leads to chaos." More aliens agreed. The hive mind species all hummed in harmony. The Andromedan delegate was next. It looked almost human, but its eyes were completely black and it had silver skin. When it moved, it seemed to blur at the edges. "We have watched humans for 100 years, the Andromedan said. "They learn too fast. They change too much. Yesterday they could barely fly to their moon. Today they have ships that can cross the galaxy. Tomorrow, what will they be able to do? This speed of change is not natural, it is frightening." Hyunwoo listened to each speech. Every alien race had something bad to say about humans. They said humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable, too different, too fast at learning new things. The Reptilian Council said humans bred too quickly and would overpopulate the galaxy. The Machine Collective said humans were too emotional and made bad decisions. The Energy Beings said humans were too solid and couldn't understand higher thinking. One by one, each race stood up and explained why humans should be kicked out. Some speeches were short. Some went on for hours because that race liked to talk a lot. But they all said the same thing. Humans did not belong in the galactic community. When it was time to vote, the great board lit up. Each race's vote appeared as a symbol on the giant screen. Green meant they wanted humans to stay. Red meant they wanted humans to leave. The first vote appeared. Red. Then another red. Then another. Hyunwoo watched as red symbols filled the screen. 800 red votes, not a single green one. The only blank spot was where the human vote would go, but humans could not vote on their own fate. "The vote is complete," Zephyrian Prime announced. 846 votes for expulsion, 0 votes against, 1 abstention. Resolution 2387 passes. Humanity is hereby expelled from galactic civilization. The hall erupted in sounds. Clicking, whistling, humming, ringing. Some aliens were celebrating. Others seemed relieved. A few looked sad, but they had still voted to kick humans out. Hyunwoo stood up slowly. All the noise stopped. Every alien, eye sensor and awareness focused on him. They expected him to beg. They thought he would cry or get angry or demand another vote. Instead, Hyunwoo smiled. "Thank you," he said clearly. His voice carried to every corner of the Great Hall through the translation system. "Humanity accepts this decision completely. We will begin leaving immediately. Some aliens looked surprised. They had expected humans to fight the decision. However, Yanwu continued, as stated in Galactic Law Section 12 Alpha, we request our legal right to a 30-day transition period. We need time to settle our affairs and make proper arrangements. Zephyrian Prime nodded. This is reasonable. You have 30 standard galactic days. Excellent, Yanwu said. He was still smiling, and this made some aliens uncomfortable. We will use this time wisely. As the Great Hall emptied, aliens talking excitedly about their victory, Yanwu remained calm. He pulled out a small communication device and typed a simple message. The message went out instantly to every human ship, station, research facility, and settlement in the galaxy. It reached human doctors working in alien hospitals, human engineers, maintaining alien machines, human teachers in alien schools, human traders on alien worlds. The message was short. Prometheus Protocol is now active. Show them what we have learned. On Earth, Dr. So-Young Park received the message in her laboratory. She had been expecting it. For years, she had been preparing for this day. She began typing rapidly on her computer, sending out detailed instructions to every human in the galaxy. On the human colonies, military leaders got the message and began making quiet preparations. On space stations, human engineers started backing up their work and packing their tools. The message meant one simple thing. It was time for the galaxy to learn what humans really did for them, and what would happen when humans stopped doing. Yanwu walked out of the Great Hall alone. The aliens had celebrated their victory over the dangerous, violent, unpredictable humans. They thought they had solved their problem. They had no idea that the problem was just beginning. In 30 days, the galaxy would learn the difference between humans who wanted to belong and humans who had been forced to stand on their own. The galaxy had just made the biggest mistake in its long history. But humans would not make the mistake of trying to convince anyone they belonged somewhere they were not wanted. From now on, the galaxy would have to prove that it deserved to exist, alongside humanity. The vote had passed. The countdown had begun. 3 days after the vote, something strange started happening across the galaxy. Humans began disappearing. Not all at once, not with big announcements or angry protests. They just quietly packed their things and left. One day they were there, working at their jobs like always. The next day they were gone. Captain Dae-Hun Lee stood in the main farming complex on Kepler 442b. This planet grew food for 12 different star systems. The native Keplerian farmers were good at growing basic crops, but their methods were old and slow. When humans first came to help 10 years ago, the farms were struggling. The soil was tired. The plants got sick often. Each field could only grow enough food for a few hundred people. Dae-Hun and his team had changed everything. They brought new machines that could test the soil and fix its problems. They created special plant food that made crops grow bigger and stronger. They built glass houses that could grow food all year, even when the weather was bad. Most importantly, they had taught the plants to fight off diseases by changing their genes just a little bit. It was complex work that took years to understand. Now, the same fields could feed thousands of people. The Keplerians had become rich selling food to other planets. Everyone was happy. But today, Dae-Hun was packing the human equipment into large boxes. "What are you doing?" asked Jorak, the head Keplerian farmer. He was a green-skinned alien with 4 arms, perfect for picking crops quickly. "We are leaving," Dae-Hun said simply. The vote passed. Humans are no longer welcome in galactic civilization. But the crops, Jorak said, looking worried. "How will we maintain the super yields? How will we keep the diseases away?" Dae-Hun handed him a basic farming manual. It was the kind of book that explained simple farming methods. "This should help you get started. But what about the gene modification machines? The soil analyzers? The disease prevention systems?" "Those are human technology," Dae-Hun replied. "We developed them. We built them. Since you voted to expel us, we will be taking them with us." Jorak's green skin turned pale. "But we did not vote. Our government did." Dae-Hun looked sad for a moment. "I know, my friend, I am sorry. But your government speaks for your people. That is how democracy works. The human ships loaded up with equipment and supplies. The Keplers watched nervously as machines they had come to depend on disappeared into human cargo holds. What will we do? Jorak asked quietly. You will figure it out, Daehyun said. You are intelligent people. Before humans came, you fed your planet just fine. You can do it again. But they both knew it would not be the same. Without the human improvements, the farms would produce much less food. People on other planets might go hungry. The Keplers would lose most of their income. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. On Proxima Station, Dr. Minji Cho was packing her medical research. For 15 years, she had worked to understand how different alien bodies worked. Each species was unique. What cured a reptilian might kill an energy being. What helped a crystallite might poison a vegan. Minji had studied them all. She had learned their weaknesses and strengths, not to hurt them, but to heal them. Her research had saved millions of alien lives by creating medicines that worked for each species. Her laboratory was full of samples and data from hundreds of different alien races. She knew which diseases affected which species. She knew how to cure illnesses that had puzzled alien doctors for centuries. The station administrator, a tall Centaurian with horse-like features, came to her lab as she was sealing the last data. Storage containers. Dr. Cho, he said urgently, we need access to your research. The vegan outbreak in Sector 7 is getting worse. Only your treatments can stop it. Minji looked at him calmly. I am sorry, but this research belongs to humanity. We developed it using human methods and human equipment. Since humans are no longer part of galactic civilization, we cannot share it. But aliens will die. That is tragic, Minji said. But you should ask your own doctors to find a cure. Surely the advanced species that voted to expel primitive humans can solve their own medical problems. The administrator's face showed panic. Dr. Cho, please be reasonable. We can pay you. Name your price. The price was acceptance in galactic civilization, Minji replied. That was rejected. Now the research goes with us. She walked out of the lab, leaving behind 15 years of work that could save lives. But it was her work, created by human minds and human dedication. If the galaxy did not want humans, they could not have the benefits of human brilliance either. On the trading station at Wolf 359, systems engineer Tae-Min Yoon was shutting down his networks. Most aliens did not even know what he did. They just knew that their computer systems worked perfectly, and their communications never failed. Tae-Min had spent 8 years building invisible connections between different alien computer systems. Each species used different technology. Getting them to work together was like teaching 100 different languages to talk to each other. He had created translation programs that let crystallite light systems talk to Andromedan quantum computers. He had built bridges between reptilian biotech and machine collective hardware. He had solved thousands of small problems that would have taken other species years to figure out. Now he was carefully removing all of his programs and taking his equipment with him. Wait, called out Station Master Vorth, a tentacled alien from the Spiral Arm Coalition. You cannot just leave. The trade networks depend on your systems. They depend on human systems, Tae-Min corrected. Since humans are not welcome, our systems are not welcome either. But trade will collapse. Billions of credits flow through these networks every day. Tae-Min shrugged. Then you should have thought about that before voting to expel us. Within hours of Tae-Min's departure, communication errors started popping up across the sector. Orders were getting lost. Credits were not transferring properly. Ships were getting confused about where to deliver their cargo. The same thing was happening in hundreds of places across the galaxy. Human doctors, engineers, teachers, and researchers were quietly packing up and leaving. They took their knowledge, their equipment, and their expertise with them. Most aliens did not notice at Q. First, humans had always worked quietly in the background. They fixed problems before most people even knew the problems existed. They made improvements so smoothly that everyone assumed the systems had always worked that well. But slowly, cracks began to appear. Medical centers found they could not treat certain diseases. Communication networks started having mysterious failures. Trade systems began making errors. Agricultural worlds discovered their crops were not growing as well as before. On Earth, President Ye Jin-oh watched the reports coming in from across the galaxy. Every human settlement was following the Prometheus Protocol perfectly. They were leaving peacefully, taking only what belonged to them, and being polite to their former alien colleagues. "How many have reported in?" she asked her aide. 97% of our people have confirmed receipt of the protocol orders," the aide replied. "The withdrawal is proceeding on schedule." Ye Jin nodded. "And the aliens?" "They are starting to notice problems, but they think they are just minor technical difficulties. Most still believe they are better off without us." "Give them time," Ye Jin said quietly. "They will understand soon enough." Across the galaxy, humans continued their quiet exodus. They did not sabotage anything. They did not break anything. They simply removed themselves and everything they had contributed. The galaxy had wanted to see what civilization looked like without humans. They were about to find out. Day 15 brought the first real crisis. The Galactic Trade Network had worked perfectly for over 300 years. Trillions of credits flowed through it every day. Ships from thousands of different worlds bought and sold goods across the galaxy. No one had ever worried about it failing until it started failing. The problems began small. A cargo ship heading to the Vegan systems got wrong directions and ended up in reptilian space. A payment for rare crystals got sent to the wrong account. An order for medical supplies was accidentally duplicated 50 times. At first, the Trade Commission thought these were just random computer errors. Systems this big always had small problems, but the errors kept growing. Within a week, major trade routes were backing up. Ships were getting lost. Money was disappearing into broken systems. Entire cargo loads were being sent to the wrong planets. The Altarian Trade Commission called an emergency meeting. Chancellor Vextar's crystal body was flashing angry red colors as he read the damage reports. "This is clearly sabotage," he declared. "The humans are attacking our systems." Commissioner Thale from the Spiral Arm Coalition disagreed. "Our security scans show no signs of attack. These look like maintenance failures." "Maintenance?" Vextar's crystals flashed brighter. "These systems have run perfectly for centuries, because engineer Taemin Yoon maintained them," Thale said quietly. "He left 15 days ago." The room fell silent. Other commissioners began checking their own systems. What they found was disturbing. Taemin had been responsible for maintaining 23% of the network's core infrastructure. His elegant programming solutions had fixed problems that other engineers could not even understand. His monitoring systems had prevented thousands of failures before they happened. When he left, he had taken all of his code with him. The commissioners tried to contact Earth to demand immediate technical support. The response came back within hours, signed by Director Ji-Hoon Nam of the Terran Technology Consortium. As per Galactic Council Resolution 2387, humanity is no longer part of galactic civilization. Please direct all technical support requests to other member species. We wish you success in solving these problems without our assistance. Chancellor Vextar crushed the message crystal in his mechanical hand. But the trade network problems were just the beginning. On the medical station orbiting Rigel, Dr. Alien Healer Zixtar was facing a crisis he had never seen before. Patients were arriving with quantum flux syndrome, a rare but deadly condition that affected space travelers. The disease caused the victims' molecules to become unstable. Without treatment, they would literally fall apart at the atomic level. It was a horrible way to die. Zixtar had seen this condition before. The cure was well known. Dr. Yoon Hae-song, a human doctor, had developed the treatment 5 years ago. The procedure was documented and should have been simple to perform, but every patient Zixtar treated died. He tried following Dr. Song's procedures exactly. He used the same equipment, the same medicines, the same timing. Nothing worked. The patients kept dying. In desperation, he contacted Dr. Song directly. Her response was polite but firm. "I am sorry to hear about your difficulties. Unfortunately, my research and treatment protocols are proprietary to human medical science. Since humanity has been expelled from galactic civilization, I cannot provide assistance. Perhaps your advanced medical community can develop their own solution." Zixtar stared at the message in confusion. The treatment was documented. He had followed every step. Why was it not working? What he did not know was that Dr. Song's published procedures were incomplete. The critical steps that made the treatment work were based on human intuition and experience that could not be easily written down. She had always planned to teach these techniques to alien doctors personally, but that would take years of training. Years that the dying patients did not. How across 17 different star systems, hospitals were reporting similar problems. Treatments that had worked for years were suddenly failing. Medical procedures that seemed straightforward were not working for alien doctors. The crisis was not limited to medicine and trade. On the resort planet of Paradiso, the sky was slowly turning yellow. Paradiso was one of the most beautiful worlds in the galaxy. Tourists from hundreds of species came to enjoy its perfect beaches and crystal-clear atmosphere. The planet made billions of credits every year from tourism, but the natural atmosphere of Paradiso was deadly poisonous to most galactic species. The air contained compounds that would kill visitors within hours. 8 years ago, environmental engineer Woo Jin Park had solved this problem. He designed a system that used specially modified bacteria to clean the air. The bacteria ate the poisonous compounds and created breathable atmosphere for tourists. The system was biological, not mechanical. The bacteria lived and reproduced on their own. All they needed was occasional feeding and monitoring. Woo Jin had been feeding and monitoring them for 8 years. He understood their life cycles, knew when they were healthy, and could tell when they needed help. When he left with the other humans, he took his knowledge with him. The bacteria were still alive, but they were starting to struggle. Without Woo Jin's careful attention, they were becoming weak and sick. The poisonous compounds in the air were building up again. Resort manager Quelix noticed the problem when guests started complaining about breathing difficulties. The air quality sensors showed dangerous levels of toxins. "Get me Engineer Park, immediately," Quelix ordered his staff. "Sir," Engineer Park left with the human evacuation. His assistant replied nervously. "Then get me his replacement." There is no replacement, sir. The atmospheric system was his personal project. No one else knows how to maintain it." Quelix felt his 3 hearts skip a beat. Without the atmospheric processors, Paradiso would become uninhabitable for tourists within 6 months. The planet's entire economy would collapse. Similar disasters were unfolding across the galaxy. On the military station at Alpha Centauri, Defense Coordinator Vrex was staring at screens, full of red warning lights. The station's defensive systems were failing one by one. The quantum shield generators were running at 60% efficiency and dropping. The early warning sensors were giving false readings. The automated defense turrets kept targeting friendly ships by mistake. "What is wrong with these systems?" Rex demanded. "They were calibrated by human technicians," his aide explained. "The humans took their calibration protocols with them when they left." "Can we recalibrate them ourselves?" "We are trying, sir. But the humans used mathematical models that we do not understand. Each system seems to depend on dozens of others in ways that are not documented." Rex realized with growing horror that the entire defensive network was slowly falling apart. Without human maintenance, the military station that protected 3 star systems would soon be defenseless. Council Speaker Zephyrian Prime called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The Great Hall was filled with worried representatives from hundreds of worlds. "Fellow beings," Zephyrian Prime announced, "we are facing what appears to be coordinated sabotage by the expelled human species." Ambassador Haiyan Wu, who was still present for the final days of the transition period, stood up calmly. "Honored Speaker, with respect, humanity has not engaged in any sabotage. We have simply removed our people and our technologies from your civilization, as requested by your vote." "This is clearly deliberate destruction." Chancellor Vextar's crystals flashed angry red. "We have not destroyed anything," Yanwu replied. "We have simply stopped maintaining, operating, and supporting the systems we built for you. Surely, the advanced civilizations that voted for our expulsion can manage without the help of primitive humans." An uncomfortable silence filled the great hall. The implications were starting to become clear. How much of our infrastructure depends on human systems? Asked the Andromedan delegate quietly. Hyunwoo smiled sadly. That, honored delegates, is what you are about to find out. The 30-day countdown continued. And with each passing day, more systems failed. The galaxy was learning a harsh lesson about taking essential people for granted. Day 25 brought the most terrifying discovery of all. Admiral Sujin Kang stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought Soul's Pride, watching the main screen with grim satisfaction. Spread across the display were dozens of alien warships, drifting helplessly through space like broken toys. The ships were not destroyed. They were just useless. Report, Admiral Kang ordered. The Altarian defense fleet is completely dead in space, her tactical officer reported. Their quantum shield generators failed 6 hours ago. Their weapon systems are offline. Their navigation computers are giving random coordinates. What about the Andromedan fleet? Similar problems. Their null space torpedoes will not arm properly. Their battle computers keep crashing. Their ships can barely maintain formation. Admiral Kang nodded. This was exactly what the human military leaders had expected. For the past 50 years, humans had been quietly developing defensive technologies. For the galaxy, the aliens had asked for help protecting themselves from outside threats, raiders from beyond the galaxy, rogue AI systems, natural disasters in space. Humans had delivered solutions that seemed like miracles. Quantum shields that could stop any weapon. Null space torpedoes that could destroy entire fleets. Battle computers that could predict enemy movements and coordinate perfect defenses. What the aliens did not know was that 67% of all galactic defense technology had been invented by humans. The other species had contributed ships and personnel, but the systems that made those ships deadly were human creations. The aliens had been so focused on human aggression that they never realized humans were the ones protecting them. Sir, the communication officer called out. We are receiving distress calls from the Rigel defense station. They are under attack by void pirates, but their weapons will not function. Are there civilians in danger? Admiral Kang asked. Yes, sir. 30,000 alien civilians on the station. Admiral Kang thought for a moment. The humans had been expelled from galactic civilization. They had no obligation to help. But civilians were dying. Signal the Busan Guardian and the Incheon Defender, she ordered. We will provide humanitarian assistance. 20 minutes later, 3 human warships dropped out of hyperspace near the Rigel defense station. The void pirates scattered immediately when they saw human vessels approaching. Everyone in the galaxy knew that human ships were deadly in combat. The aliens on the station sent desperate thanks to the human fleet. But Admiral Kang knew this was just the beginning of their problems. On Earth, Chief Analyst Sung-Ho Lee was reviewing reports from across the galaxy. What he had discovered was shocking, even to him. Madam President, he said to Ye-jin. Oh, we have completed our analysis of galactic stability patterns. What did you find? Over the past 100 years, humans have quietly prevented 847 different potential conflicts through diplomatic interventions, economic adjustments, and information sharing. President O raised her eyebrows. 847? Yes. Our people have been acting as invisible peacekeepers across the galaxy. We prevented trade wars, settled territorial disputes, and stopped ethnic conflicts before they could start. We did this so smoothly that most aliens never even knew there had been problems. And now, Sung-Ho pulled up a galactic map covered in red warning indicators. Without our intervention network, old rivalries are starting to flare up again. The Andromedans and Altarians are arguing over mining rights in the Vega system. The Reptilian Council is threatening to blockade 3 spiral-arm trade routes. The energy beings are demanding that solid matter species stop polluting space with their physical presence. President O studied the map grimly. How long before these disputes turn violent? Some already have. There have been 3 border skirmishes in the past week. Our diplomatic computers predict full-scale conflicts within 60 days if current trends continue. The most shocking revelation came from Dr. Changmin An, the galaxy's foremost expert on stellar engineering. Dr. Changmin had called an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council. Even though humans were being expelled, this information was too important to keep secret. The Great Hall was packed as Dr. Changmin took the speaking platform. His expression was deadly serious. "Honored delegates," he began, "I must inform you of a critical situation that affects the survival of billions of beings across this galaxy." The hall fell completely silent. Over the past 40 years, human stellar engineers have made modifications to 17 different stars across galactic space. These modifications were necessary to prevent those stars from going nova, exploding, and destroying everything in their systems. Shocked murmurs filled the hall. Some aliens had never heard of stellar engineering. Others thought it was impossible. The modified stars have been stable for decades because of ongoing human maintenance and monitoring. However, this maintenance requires specific knowledge and technology that only humans possess. Chancellor Vexitar's crystal body was flashing rapid yellow lights, a sign of extreme anxiety. What happens without this maintenance? Dr. Changmin's next word sent terror through every alien heart. We estimate approximately 6 months before the first star becomes critically unstable. The Tau Ceti system will be the first to go. Population, 4 billion souls. The hall erupted in panic. Aliens were shouting, clicking, whistling, and making every kind of distress sound their species could produce. 4 billion people will die? Gasped the Vegan collective representative. That is just the first system, Dr. Changmin said calmly. Over the next 5 years, all 17 modified stars will become unstable without human intervention. Total. Population at risk. Approximately 60 billion beings. Zephyrian Prime stood up, his 4 arms shaking. Why did you not tell us about this before? Because you never asked. Dr. Changmin replied. You requested help with stellar stability problems. We solved them. You never asked how we solved them or what would happen if we stopped. This is blackmail, shouted the Reptilian Council delegate. No, Dr. Changmin said firmly. This is a natural consequence of your decision. You voted to expel humanity from galactic civilization. We are respecting that decision by removing all human involvement in galactic affairs. That includes stellar maintenance. The Andromedan representative stood up slowly. Is there any way to reverse these modifications? To make the stars safe without human help? Dr. Changmin shook his head. The stellar modification process is irreversible with current galactic technology. Only continued human maintenance can keep these stars stable. Then what do you want? Chancellor Vexitar demanded. What will it cost to get human help? That is not my decision to make, Dr. Changmin replied. I am just a scientist informing you of the facts. What humanity chooses to do with this information is up to our government. As the meeting dissolved into chaos, Dr. Changmin quietly left the hall. He had delivered his warning. Now it was up to the politicians to decide what happened next. That night, emergency sessions were called on hundreds of worlds. Governments that had celebrated the expulsion of humanity were now facing the possibility of their entire civilizations being destroyed. The Keplerian Republic was the first to break. Faced with agricultural collapse and the possibility that their sun might explode, they sent a formal message to Earth. To the government of Earth, the message read, The Keplerian Republic deeply regrets our vote for Resolution 2387. We recognize that we made a terrible mistake. We humbly request to discuss terms for renewed cooperation between our peoples. Within 6 hours, similar messages arrived from 12 other worlds. The galaxy was starting to understand that they had not expelled a junior partner seeking acceptance. They had expelled the people who had been keeping them all alive, and now those people were gone. Day 30 arrived like a thunderclap across the galaxy. Fleet Admiral Kyungsoo Park stood on the bridge of the human flagship New Seoul, surrounded by the largest human fleet ever assembled. 300 ships of various sizes filled the space. Around him, destroyers, cruisers, hospital ships, engineering vessels, and massive dreadnoughts. But the fleet had not fled to the edge of the galaxy as everyone expected. Instead, they had taken positions at key points throughout human-settled space. Points that, it turned out, controlled most of the major trade routes and strategic locations in the galaxy. "Open a channel to all galactic civilizations," Admiral Park commanded. The communication went out on every frequency, in every language, to every inhabited world. Across the galaxy, aliens stopped what they were doing to listen. "People of the galaxy," Admiral Park began, his voice calm and steady. 30 days ago, you voted to expel humanity from your civilization. We have honored that decision completely. All humans have withdrawn from your institutions, your worlds, and your service. In the Great Council Hall, the remaining delegates listened in tense silence. Many seats were empty. Representatives had rushed home to deal with the crises on their own worlds. However, Admiral Park continued, some facts have become clear during this transition period that we feel you should understand. He gestured, and data began appearing on screens across the galaxy. Charts, graphs, and statistics that made many alien leaders feel sick with fear. First, all technology, research, and innovations developed by humanity are proprietary to humanity alone. This includes stellar engineering, medical treatments, agricultural improvements, defensive systems, trade network infrastructure, and approximately 14,000 other patents and processes. Chancellor Vextar's crystal body was flashing rapid patterns of distress. Without human technology, Altarian civilization would collapse within months. Second, all star systems with human populations, human-built infrastructure, or human research facilities are now under Terran protection. This includes 341 systems previously considered open galactic territory. The Andromedan delegate gasped. Those systems controlled the major hyperspace routes between different parts of the galaxy. Without access to them, interstellar travel would become extremely difficult. Third, humanity offers a new relationship to any species interested. We propose mutual cooperation between equals, not the previous arrangement where humans served as the galaxy's unpaid problem solvers while being treated as junior partners. Some aliens in the council hall began to murmur hopefully. Maybe the humans would be reasonable. Fourth, for those civilizations facing immediate crises due to our withdrawal, stellar instability, medical emergencies, infrastructure collapse, agricultural failures, we offer humanitarian assistance. The murmurs grew louder. This sounded like the humans were willing to help. Admiral Park paused for a moment, letting hope build across the galaxy. Then he delivered the conditions. The price for this assistance is simple: a formal apology for the unjust expulsion and a new treaty recognizing humanity as a sovereign power with equal rights, not a member species seeking your approval. The hope died instantly. Formal apologies meant admitting they had been wrong. New treaties meant giving humans equal status with the oldest and most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. President Ye Jin-Oh appeared on screen next to Admiral Park. Her expression was firm but not unkind. For too long, humanity tried to earn your acceptance by serving your needs, she said. We fixed your problems, saved your lives, and improved your civilizations, hoping you would eventually see us as equals. She gestured to data showing the scope of human contributions over the past century. We prevented your wars. We cured your diseases. We fed your hungry. We protected you from external threats. We made your lives better in thousands of ways, both large and small. The data was overwhelming. Every major galactic achievement of the past 100 years had significant human involvement. You responded by calling us violent, primitive, and dangerous. You said we were not ready to be part of your civilization. You voted to expel us unanimously. President O's voice hardened slightly. Very well. You have taught us that the galaxy does not want us as family members seeking acceptance. We accept this lesson. From now on, you will deal with us as we truly are, your neighbors who happen to be very, very good at solving problems you cannot handle yourselves. The transmission switched back to Admiral Park. Any species that wishes to establish diplomatic relations with humanity may send ambassadors to Earth. We will consider each request individually. But understand, We are no longer asking for permission to exist. We are informing you of the new reality. The transmission ended. Within the first hour, chaos erupted across the galaxy. On Kepler 442b, the agricultural crisis had worsened dramatically. Without human improvements, crop yields had dropped by 70%. Famine was spreading to 12 star systems that depended on Keplerian food exports. The Keplerian Prime Minister Jorak's brother Korak called an emergency cabinet meeting. "We have to apologize to the humans," he said bluntly. "Our people are starving." "Apologize?" demanded the defense minister. "That would make us look weak." "We are weak," Korak snapped. "Our entire agricultural system depends on human technology. Without them, billions will die." The argument lasted 6 hours. In the end, survival won over pride. The Keplerian Republic sent the first formal apology to Earth within hours of Admiral Park's announcement. They also requested immediate emergency food assistance and offered to negotiate a full alliance treaty. President O's response was swift and professional. Apology accepted. Emergency food shipments will begin within 24 hours. Please send diplomatic representatives to Earth to begin treaty negotiations. Other worlds watched nervously as human ships arrived at Kepler 442b, carrying advanced farming equipment and emergency food supplies. The humans were clearly willing to help, but only on their own terms. By the end of the first week, 27 civilizations had sent formal apologies to Earth. The medical crisis forced even more hands. Dr. Min Ji Cho found herself inundated with desperate requests from alien hospitals. Patients were dying from diseases that only human medicine could cure. She established a simple policy. Any world that apologized to humanity and requested a formal medical cooperation treaty would receive immediate assistance. Any world that refused to apologize would have to solve their medical problems alone. The results were predictable. Faced with dying patients, alien governments swallowed their pride and sent apologetic messages to Earth. By the end of the second week, 68 civilizations had established new diplomatic relations with humanity, but not all aliens were willing to admit their mistakes. Chancellor Vextar of the Altarian Confederation remained defiant. "We will not grovel before these primitive humans," he declared to his council. "Our technology is superior. We will find solutions without them." This confidence lasted exactly 11 days. The Altarian trade networks collapsed completely without human maintenance. Their defensive systems failed, just as Void pirates launched a major raid on their outer colonies. Their crystal-based technology, so advanced in some areas, proved useless for the kinds of complex system integration that humans had provided. Worst of all, the star in the Altarian home system was one of the 17 that humans had modified to prevent nova explosions. Without human maintenance, the star was becoming unstable. Faced with the complete destruction of his civilization, Chancellor Vexatar finally broke. The message he sent to Earth was broadcast across the galaxy. "The Altarian Confederation deeply regrets our vote for Resolution 2387. We formally acknowledge that humanity was unjustly expelled from galactic civilization. We request immediate humanitarian assistance and wish to begin negotiations for a comprehensive alliance treaty." President O's response was broadcast just as widely. "Apology accepted. Human stellar engineers are already en route to stabilize your sun. Welcome to the new galactic community." By the end of the first month, 127 civilizations had apologized to humanity and established new diplomatic relations. The holdouts were becoming desperate. Without access to human-controlled trade routes, their economies were collapsing. Without human technology, their infrastructure was failing. Without human diplomatic intervention, old conflicts were erupting into violence. The Andromedan Collective, one of the most ancient and proud civilizations in the galaxy, held out for 6 weeks. But when 3 of their oldest colonies were destroyed, in a war they could have prevented with human help, they too sent an apologetic message to Earth. The Vegan Collective waited even longer until a plague swept through their hive minds, a plague that only human-developed treatments could cure. 1. By 1, the species that had voted to expel humanity came to Earth with formal apologies and requests for new treaties. But the new treaties were very different from the old arrangements. Under the previous system, humans had been junior members of galactic civilization. They served on committees controlled by aliens. They followed rules made by others. They provided solutions to problems but had no voice in major decisions. Under the new system, humanity was an equal partner in all arrangements. Human colonies were sovereign territory,